So my name is Joe Kent, and I'm a music teacher on Maui in Lahaina. I I've been teaching for about 7 years in the Department of Education. So I am a licensed government teacher. And when I first started teaching, um, I thought that the government was corrupt, yes, but I thought, well, but it can work in educate. We can make it work. We can reform it. And after 7 years of being in the Department of Education, I realized that government is a monster, and kids are afraid of monsters. Kids don't like monsters. So why do we have a monster teaching our kids in the classroom? Um, and that's kind of the big overarching talk right now. I guess I want to go a little bit into my background. I'm from Minnesota. I grew up on the Big Island and went to college in Minnesota, taught there for 3 years, and moved to Maui, and I've taught there for 4 years. When I was in Minnesota, I had a high school choir, and I taught K through 12, and we'd go on trips all around the country. And on Maui, I teach at King Kamehameha III Elementary School, which is a public school, and it's a K through 5 elementary school with about 830 students. And I teach all the students at the school. I teach every single student. I've got to remember all their names, otherwise they get really mad at me. and and so over the years I've taught thousands of kids. So I know a lot about the system. And although being a music teacher in the Department of Education is pretty libertarian, I can do what I want pretty much. I don't need to follow a Common Core curriculum or anything like that. I can make my own schedule and etc. So I can kind of see, I have a good job, but I can also see every single teacher in the school. So my job works like this. I have a cart, and I've got all my xylophones on the cart, and I go from classroom to classroom, and I take over the class for a half an hour while the teacher gets to surf Amazon for a while. And then I go to the next classroom, etc. So I see every single kid in the system. Like I said before, government is a monster, and the last I checked, kids are afraid of monsters, and we need to get rid of this monster out of our classroom. And a lot of people who are critical of education say that the problem is the teachers, and they say it's these government teachers, or they say it's the principal, or even the unions, which is all true. But I think that it's more useful to think of it as it's good and bad teachers in a bad system. And if the system were fixed or just abolished, I think, then you would have a market for good teachers. But right now there isn't a market for good teachers. So that's the 3,000 level view, aerial view. The system is broken, and in general, it ties teachers' hands behind their backs, and it ties principals' hands behind their backs, so they're not allowed to fail or succeed. I guess if you're not allowed to fail, then you're not allowed to succeed either. That kind of goes along with it. And I believe that the answer to all of this is liberty. Is liberty for teachers to teach what they want to teach. Maybe they want to teach a bad lesson. Okay, give them that freedom. Maybe they want to teach a really good lesson and try something new. Give them that freedom. But then you also have to give principals liberty as well. And principals can't just fire a bad teacher. They've got to go through mountains of paperwork. And so they just pass teachers to the next school, and I mean, it takes about 2 years to get tenure in the state. After 2 years I was here, I already had tenure. Impossible to fire me. And actually I told my principal, can you just not give me tenure because I don't really believe in that system. He said, no, we have to give you tenure. So I said, all right. But yes, the system is broken. Okay, I want to talk about I could probably talk about education for the next 6 days, straight. I just have a lot to say. But I want to talk about 4 things: safety in education, the wasteful money, Common Core. Raise your hand if you've heard of Common Core before. Okay, Common Core, good. And the lack of power for individuals. Okay, but first let's talk about safety. That which is really the travesty in education. Almost makes me just emotional when I start to talk about safety. I'm talking about safety of the kids because the classrooms aren't safe places to be. The worst kid I ever taught, and I hate to say it that way, but the most challenging kid I ever taught, his name was, I should change his name was Freddie. Okay, that wasn't really his name, but his name was Freddie. And he was a kindergartner. Okay, so just imagine a kindergartner who could bring adults to their knees. You have about 5 adults in the classroom, and here's Freddie, and we're all stumped about what to do, right? With over one little kindergartner. And just think about the rest of the classroom, okay? Because there's 20 other kids in the classroom that have to sit and wait for everyone to deal with Freddie. So I want to ask, give a little thought experiment. What would you do? So if you have an idea, what would you do? So you're sitting in a classroom, and I play guitar. So I'm playing guitar, Puff the Magic Dragon, right, for the kids. And about 20 kids are sitting there, and Freddie is there, and he flicks the person next to him, right? And so the kid next to them says, Mr. Kent, Freddie hit me, right? Okay, so what would you do with that? Well, I'll tell you what I did first. I just say, Freddie, you need to sit, away from the group. He's hitting people, right? Obviously, he's hitting people. Sit away from the group, right? And then Freddie gets up and says, "Fuck you!" and runs across the room and takes the chair and throws it. Okay, so now my question is, what would you do? Put him in the corner, right? Okay, so then you're wrestling with him, and you get him to the corner, and then he just he's throwing chairs already, and then and goes to the principal's office, right?
Tracy's speaking from experience here.
Aha, yeah. Yeah.
You think we wouldn't have kids acting that way when we were all kids?
Yeah.
In those days, kids got dealt with. You didn't need to smack them, but you could use a certain amount of physical force to move them around.
Right. Okay, so now we're sending him to, and I agree. Get him out of the classroom, right? He's terrorizing the classroom, right? You just think about, how do we get him out of the classroom because there's 20 kids in the classroom? I'm trying to think practically, right? What would you do? And so I'm wrestling with him. He's kicking me, right? He's punching me, right in the face. And it's just like a little kindergartner, but they can kick, right? And so I take him out of the classroom, and but then I think, oh wait, we're not supposed to, I guess it's against the law for teachers to leave 20 kids behind. And so I think, oh wait a sec, this is illegal, so I have to go back in the classroom. And then I run to the phone, right? And meanwhile, the kids are all running around screaming, right? The rest of them, and they want to help. And I say, sit down, right? And I hate yelling at kids, but sometimes it's a good thing to yell, right? And so everyone sits down, and I'm running to the phone, and I get the phone, and I'm trying to dial the administrator while Freddie, is wrestling with me the whole time. And then the principal comes, and with 2 other people, and takes Freddie away. And just think about all the 20 kindergartners that had to go through that. And the next day, Freddie's back.
I saw that.
The return of Freddie, right? I mean, I know about his.
Halloween series.
Yeah,
Freddy was
I know about his background. He did his mom, I think, was separated, and his parents say, "Oh, he's a good kid. He's a good." It's all the other kids who are bad, and all this stuff. And
Time to give him NyQuil.
well, that's the next. Yeah, I mean, this is the way people think. So you think, oh, those teachers, those lousy teachers, are so bad. But what would you do if you had a kid like that? That's why I say it's the system that is the problem. I think Freddie shouldn't have been allowed to come back to the classroom. He should have been expelled. Maybe there should have been a whole another school for him, for kids like him. Because who's getting left behind? Is all those kids in the classroom who have to deal with that tantrum, and Freddie is getting left behind, and so everyone's getting left behind. So I remember he came back every single day to the classroom for that whole year, and after that the teacher quit teaching. She said, I'd never want to experience that again. I mean, she would have nervous breakdowns with this, right? Every day, can you imagine? And that's why I say that safety is a big issue in our schools. Let me see.
Why wouldn't the principal have just assigned somebody else to
They did. So I'm so glad you said that. So why not have an aide to deal with Freddie? Well, now you've got Freddie, and he's got an aide, and he might behave, right? But he's sitting next to the nicest kid, the nicest, most beautiful girl in the classroom, and he's sitting next to her, and now you're worried about that he's gonna say something to her or flick her, which he would, and now he's getting dragged out of the classroom every day. All the kids are still terrified. He's behaved, but is this really a nice classroom to be in? They're still afraid of Freddie. I mean, they're still traumatized by all of this. And so yes, you can get an aide, but I'd say why not just change the system and get a whole different program for him. Maybe in a free market, there'd be some kind of market for him. Maybe he's not ready to be in school yet.
he's all in kindergarten.
He's in kindergarten, right?
It's not like he's in first grade where he's got to learn stuff.
Right.
Kindergarten is mostly babysitting.
Yes.
What I remember.
Yes, exactly. But it can also be mostly damaging in that situation. So
Now legally imposed, because all he has to claim is it's a mental condition.
yes,
Laws that we
Special ed.
it's legally imposed bullying or legally mandated bullying in a way. I see it as that. Yeah. So and there are kids who have mental handicaps, and who are also in the school. I've taught in classrooms where the kid doesn't stop yelling until he goes to bed, right? And so he's in the classroom just screaming the whole time, and you're trying, I mean, how do you teach a lesson like that, right? But they want to include him because of the laws, otherwise we're gonna get sued, and it's just a mess. So that's safety. I want to keep going. I got to keep going. Okay. So a lot of people here have heard of Common Core. I actually brought a Common Core book, and a lot of people are talking about this right now, Common Core. And right now, I guess Tea Partiers, Republican, even Democrats are all upset in arms about the propaganda. You've heard about that. They're just kind of government pamphlets, which is true. And there is a lot of propaganda in here, kind of environmental stuff, and well, which might be true or not. And you've got just little, but honestly, the propaganda isn't what I'm concerned about. I went to school and there's propaganda there too for me, and I had to learn how to think outside the box. What's really damaging about Common Core, I think, is that it's boring. It's the most boring curriculum ever devised by man. I mean, it should be called Common Bore. I mean, it's so boring. It really is boring. And so, I mean, what they did, the idea is that, okay, we want our kids to be ready for math and science and technology. They call it STEM, science, whatever. It's math and science and technology, the real world. And so let's take all the fiction out of books and just replace it with pamphlets, how-to pamphlets. And the problem with that is, as a teacher, what is the teacher's ultimate goal? Is a teacher's goal to educate kids? Or is a teacher's goal to inspire kids to love learning? Which is the higher goal? And I think that the higher goal is to get kids to love learning. Because if they love learning, then they're going to teach themselves when you're not there. And that's why boredom is so serious. And I take it really seriously. I mean, I take fun and entertainment and enjoyment just really seriously. And when I go through materials to present to kids, I go through thousands and thousands of examples before I find the one that I think the kids would really love. And but with Common Core, you're not allowed to do that because you have to teach what the national government wants you to. This is a national program, right? Whatever the national textbook says. And let me read what the national textbook says here. By the way, I teach after school reading to English language learners. And so I have to teach out of this, and I've taught it for many years. And this is the first year that the kids say, Mr. Kent, you're boring, right? And that is such an insult to me because I am the least boring teacher in the whole school, right? Okay. Okay, so you guys want to hear a story? Okay, this is called The Fishing Trip. Okay, so Dad came home early from work one day. Carly was happy to see her dad. It was a sunny spring day and Carly wanted to be outside. Dad, can we go fishing today? Asked Carly. By the way, there's a typo. No, they didn't put the first quotation mark there. Okay, so Dad said, what a great idea. That is just what I was thinking. Dad and Carly changed their clothes. Carly put on a t-shirt and a pair of old jeans. Dad put on a pair of overalls and his lucky fishing hat. They walked into a garage to get their fishing rods. Dad picked up his tackle box that held many different fish hooks. Dad and Carly loaded the fishing supplies into the boat. Are you guys bored yet? I mean, this is boring. This is boring. Okay, then Dad hitched the trailer. And by the way, think about a third grader listening to this. They are just so bored. Then Dad hitched the trailer with his boat to the truck. Dad and Carly jumped into the truck and drove to the lake. When they arrived, Dad backed the truck down to the water. Do third graders do not care that Dad backed the truck down to the water, right?
First they open the car door.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so let me go on. He unloaded the boat from the trailer into the water. Dad held the boat while Carly climbed on board. Dad drove the boat to their special fishing place. It was underneath a long bridge. Dad dropped the anchor because he did not want the boat to move from their fishing spot. Okay, and then at the end here, they've got questions. Okay, so, right, okay. So what, and let me ask you, now you're going to see if you can answer this. What happens right after Dad unloads the boat into the water? Okay, and let me give you A, Dad helps Carly get into the boat. B, Dad takes the fish to the weigh station. C, Dad helps Carly bait her hook with a wiggly worm. Or D, Dad takes the fish off the hook and places it into the tank. Okay, and I think the right answer is A. But That is so boring. I mean, I can barely answer that. Not because, well, it's because it's so boring. So, I mean, you get the point.
Make it more boring by reading it really slow.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, and kids that have trouble reading do read really slowly. So we sit there like, yeah. I mean, the other part of this is there are so many questions and okay, so here's all the questions. So here's the reading. Okay, that's the reading, right? This one page in the back. And here's the questions that we have to go through, and more questions here. And then they have to write about how did Dad and Carly get to the lake? Okay, tell in your own words how the boat gets into the water, right? Who cares, right? And then they have to write more and more. If a kid has trouble reading, how are they going to write about it? Exactly. And studies show that if you have trouble reading, the best thing to do is to read, not write. Because you can't write before you learn you don't know what you're writing about. And the kids say, they're like, oh, done, right? And it's just like, they went fishing, or something. And so, anyway, that's Common Core. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Not because of the propaganda. I hate that, but it's just you get the idea. It's boring. Oh, also, teachers hate Common Core. Teachers hate Common Core. You might think that teachers don't, but teachers are livid about this because it's hard to teach. It's really annoying to teach this stuff. So if you talk to any teacher, you talk about that. Okay, another thing is the math component. I'm going to do this really quickly. Math is, remember how to do math? You put math, like let's say a number plus another number, and you go down the row, and then you carry the one, and you go down you remember that? You carry the one.
Column, actually.
Right, the column, right. You carry the one down the column, and there you go. Right now, they've gotten rid of that. And they have, you have to draw kind of like circles and diagrams and lines and graphing, and then you have to write about why do you think 1 + 1 = 2, and the teachers, and I've had teachers tell me, yeah, it's the law. Yeah, it's the law. Yeah, I've had teachers tell me that they don't know how to do these circles. The teachers are confused. So if the teachers are confused, how are you going to? And so I just think, can't you just keep it simple? I mean, just go down the column and carry the one. I mean, I don't understand where that went. So, okay. Anyways, that's Common Core.
3,000 years of grammar school education, I guess, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I know it.
Suggestion. I mean,
Yes.
They try to frustrate the parents, so the state can take over.
The program was designed by like about 5 people in a room, and one of them was Bill Gates, and Bill Gates gave a lot of money to develop a universal Common Core program, and the Common Core has to be tested on computers. And guess what computers are the only computers that work with this Common Core testing program, right? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so Microsoft. So there's a lot of bad stuff going on there. I want to talk really quickly. I know I'm running out of time. I want to talk really quickly about wasting money. I got a call from the administration, and they said, Joe, you've got to spend your budget. Every year, I never spend my budget because I don't feel like it's my budget. I feel like it's the taxpayers' money, and so I feel I'm really reluctant to spend any money, but here's my budget, and you can see it's about $2,000, and I haven't spent any of it. And they call and they say, Joe, how come you're not spending your money? And I said, it's not my money, it's the taxpayers' money. And they said, well, you have to spend it, otherwise we won't get it next year. And I say, great, that's what I want, But somehow I keep getting that money every year. I don't know why. But that's, I guess, typical government. So you think, oh, is there any waste? Why is there waste? That's why there's waste, because they have to spend it, otherwise they won't get it next year. So they just spend it on, oh, the teachers all run to their computers. Oh, I've got extra money. What should I buy? This, maybe that, you know. And I guess it reminds me of if you spend other people's money on other people, you spend it unwisely. So, but I don't spend it. So you might think, well, how does he have a music program if he doesn't spend any money? Well, the teachers, or no, excuse me, the parents give me money. One time I was just playing guitar and my guitar was broken, but I still was trying to use it. And the next day I got a free guitar on my desk. It was just, I mean, the parents and all the kids, by the way, they just love me. And so if there's any need or anything, it's like magic, just boom, it's there. And I don't even know who gave me that free guitar. Are there strings attached, you know? So, but, and then another time I needed some ukuleles. The next month, 30 brand new ukuleles. Not paid by the DOE or anything, just paid by a parent who wanted to thank me or help me. Then the next month I needed some xylophones. I put a little charity thing online, and I don't even know who donated. It was just within a week I had all the money to buy these xylophones. And I got scolded for that because they said, well, you should spend your budget money before you go asking for charity money. But I don't need money from the government. It just goes to show that in a free market, there would be parents would give money to the system, to the good teachers. And other teachers say, how come you always get the money and I, but it's like, well, it's because I'm good to say that, but okay. Let's see here. Yes, do you have a,
So can teachers spend this budget money pretty liberally on whatever they want? I mean, they can't
Yeah.
spend it on like blackjack and hookers.
no, well, it goes through the channels, and so there's about 3 eyes looking on what people buy, but which is annoying because then if you want to spend it on something like, let's say your friend has a business and you want to spend it on that business, they see that as some kind of collusion, and you can't, right? But let's say, well, they've got the cheapest price in town, and it's like, well, so I just don't like all those strings attached. Okay, let me see here. Okay, trying to keep going fast here. Okay, so did you ever see the movie Lean on Me? With Morgan Freeman, and he was the principal of a school. And based on a true story, there was a school that had gang violence, and you know, people were beating, a lot of violence in the schools and graffiti, etc. And then Morgan Freeman, the principal's name was Joe Clark, and he comes in the school with a baseball bat, and he's basically puts all the bad kids on stage, which is about a third of the school, and they're all yelling and screaming. You can barely hear anything, right? And Joe Clark says, "You are all expelled." Right? And so then they have security wrestle the bad kids off stage. And after that, you could just hear a pin drop in the auditorium. And the next week, Joe Clark went to a meeting, and he said, the teachers were challenging on and they were trying to vote, like, well, I think this and I think that. And Joe Clark said, this is not a damn democracy. This is an emergency, and I'm in charge, and whatever I say goes, right? And this is the kind of principal that I would like to be. If I were a principal, I would like to do that, except the problem is I'd be thrown behind bars. I mean, every little thing that he did is illegal for principals to do, right? And
Roberta's, her students were so good, she got invited to the White House every year.
She had,
And made the DOE look good and made the union look good, so they let her do whatever.
yeah. Well, I want to tell you about, every Wednesday, teachers have a long meeting that they have to go to, about 3 hours long. In fact, the meeting is so long that they have to end school early at around 12 o'clock, just so that teachers can attend this government-mandated meeting. And it's remember Common Bore? I mean, that's a Common Bore. I mean, a 3 hour long meeting about government bureaucracy. And so what do we talk about? Well, the principal says, what are some funny stories that teachers know? And so teachers kind of tell funny stories, or we look at data, and we're filling in data and all these for 3 hours of this, right? I was thinking, if I was a principal, I would say, everyone, you can just do whatever you want, okay? If you want to go home, go home. If you want to stay here and work, fine, right? You can do whatever you want, I don't care, and meeting adjourned. But remember this, I can do whatever I want too. And if I think that, if I look in your classroom and I just decide, I just feel like you deserve more money, then I'm just gonna give you a raise. And if I feel like there's another person that could do your job better, I'm gonna give it to them. And so you get to do whatever you want, but the catch is I get to do whatever I want. And so everyone just do whatever you want, right? And I think that you would see that system change like that. But that is illegal for principals to say all the union rules and everything. It would be illegal for that to happen. And I'm talking about this at the end because I believe that this is the crux of the bad system in Hawaii. It's based around this concept that principals don't have freedom and teachers don't have freedom. And we could talk about the whole bureaucracy. Hawaii is it's an entire Department of Education that encompasses the whole state, which is the only state like that. It's $12,000 per kid. You could talk about all these little details, but at the end of it, it comes down to liberty for individual teachers, parents, and the principal. And I think that if you gave all of those people liberty, you would be giving the children a great gift of a system of education which rewarded good education. So I guess that's my talk. Thanks for listening. And oh, I went over. Thank you.